Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General McKenzie, at the beginning of this hearing, Chairman Reed made a comment about the goal and mission that we're going to be looking at now in the future is to assure that Afghanistan never again can be used as a base for terrorists. And as we look at that goal, as we look at that mission, I think we need to be honest with the American people on how that will be accomplished. I don't think the American people should be misled about capabilities that are needed to make sure that we can conduct over-the-horizon counterterrorism operations. President Biden has pointed out that we conduct over-the-horizon CT operations to go after terrorists in other places in the world, including ISIS in Syria, Al-Qaeda in Yemen, Al-Shabaab in Somalia. General McKenzie, in those three locations, we have either a U.S. presence or reliable partners on the ground. Is that correct?
Senator, that's correct.
And in those three locations, do we have strike assets or basing agreements in nearby countries?
At the level of this briefing, yes, we do.
Okay. General McKenzie, when the department developed its initial plans for an over-the-horizon approach to counterterrorism in Afghanistan, did those plans assume that the Afghan security forces would serve as our partner on the ground?
So we developed plans that were neutral on that. We developed a spectrum of options ranging from we would have robust help from some future government in Afghanistan to a situation, which is what we have now, where we would have no help from the government of Afghanistan. So we developed options across that entire span of future possibilities.
But as we developed the options, you developed the options, and the reality is now that we didn't see this collapse coming so quickly, and we don't have partners on the ground. Is that correct?
We always had one of the options for CT in Afghanistan would be that we would be at a state where there would be no diplomatic presence there and there would be no help from the government of Afghanistan. So from the beginning, we always saw that as one of the possible futures.
And that's the situation we're in right now?
That is correct.
You stated that during the evacuation, we developed a pragmatic relationship with the Taliban, but you're not saying we should consider the Taliban to be a reliable partner by any means, are you?
I do not trust the Taliban. I do not consider the Taliban to be a reliable partner. And anytime you deal with the Taliban, you have to look at what they do and not what they say.
General McKenzie, Yemen, Syria, and Somalia all border an ocean or a sea, and we can use carriers or other sea-based assets to conduct CT operations. Afghanistan, however, is a landlocked country, so we cannot use our sea-based assets in the same way. Our nearest strike base, or our nearest base, in Qatar is about 1,600 miles away from northern Afghanistan, so our strike assets are significantly further from potential targets than they are in other operating locations. Is it fair to say that it is more difficult to hit targets that are further away from where the strike asset is based?
Senator, in general, that's a factor, but I would tell you because of our ability to refuel aircraft, to position, for example, during the withdrawal, we positioned a carrier off the Makran coast of Pakistan, which shortened the range considerably. So there are ways to get to that finished solution. But Senator, if I could just add, it is not the finished part of the problem that is the most difficult part of the problem. It is the finding and fixing the target where we've run into great difficulties, particularly associated with Afghanistan, because of, as you noted, its landlocked location, its great range from our bases. And while we do have platforms that can fly in there, it eats up a lot of time and a lot of platforms to conduct that mission. That's why I said from the beginning, hard to do, very hard to do. It's not impossible to do, but there are, and we can talk more about it in the closed session.
Right, and it's hard because of lack of partners on the ground.
That is a significant factor that you look at when you look at any CT operation of this nature.
To even reach Afghanistan, our strike assets, they have to fly over other countries. So without an agreement from Central Asian nations north of Afghanistan, is it accurate that we're reliant on the continued use of Pakistani airspace for our over-the-horizon strategy.
Senator, you are correct.
And that is not a sure thing for the future, correct?
Senator, I wouldn't predict the future. I know they were very supportive during the last phase of our engagement in Afghanistan. I think we're now talking to them at various levels about how we might maintain the ability to do that in the future, but I wouldn't want to get out ahead of the department, the secretary, and the policy people on this.
But they also have a strong relationship with the Taliban. Would you consider that that's going to grow?
I would consider that they're going to be very conflicted about this, as they have been for the last 20 years.
Okay,
Thank you
sir.
very much, Senator Fischer. Senator